Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz violinist Sara Caswell. We caught up with her in late April 2020 to discuss this COVID-19 world of no live jazz or music and so much more. This Bloomington, Indiana native has worked with Horses and Esperanza Spalding along with so many others over her career. She is a 2018 Grammy nominee and she's a skilled educator. She's got a great story. Get to know her.
Well, hey, thank you. I appreciate you. It's a very unique and extraordinary time, and I appreciate you taking a minute out.
Oh, well, thanks for the invitation. It's good to be talking with you.
Let's start off here. Talk to me about, in this world of COVID-19, what's kind of happened since, say, March 11th or 12th for you?
Yeah, well, it's been a pretty surreal experience. We as freelance musicians, we just we have a network of gigs that we've worked on for our careers that sort of keep a buoyancy to the activities that we do and our finances and all that. And it was just a shock. Basically, as you said, on March 11th, when all of this started to happen, when cancellations started to trickle down, and it basically became an avalanche of canceled work. And it felt a little like the floor just being pulled out from underneath you, and there's nothing that you can really grab hold of to stop the fall. There's nothing you can really do. It's out of your control. And to sort of see all that happen within basically a 48-hour period was really pretty frightening. I think what maybe helped cushion the landing once most of the cancellations came through was that I was in a community of people that were all experiencing the same thing. That we were all in the same boat together, and that when you have that community of people that you're surrounded by, it helps to give you faith that things will be okay, and that we're going to come out on this on the other side with strength and hopefully a greater sense of community out of it all. But it's almost impossible to really cushion the severity of the blow when it was first all coming down.
So what have you been doing creatively to kind of break up the time?
I've been teaching a lot. So I teach part-time at Berklee School of Music, or Berklee College of Music, and as well as the New School. And I have some private students that I see as well. So I've been really kind of throwing myself into that and just really finding positive ways to be connecting with people and students and folk. So that's been a really positive activity. Of course, I've been collaborating with people on Zoom and these different platforms for collaboration. So doing some of that. A lot of it has just been connecting with friends. And not necessarily making music, but just connecting with each other and making sure that we're okay, checking in and seeing if there's anything that can be done as far as emotional support or any kind of errands that can be run for people who are maybe more confined. So just really making sure that the family of musicians that I'm part of, that we're all okay,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where we are at this point. So talk to me a little bit about your beginnings, where you were born and raised, and kind of how jazz started for you.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Bloomington, Indiana, which is located about an hour south of Indianapolis, a couple hours north of Louisville. And it's a small college town. Indiana University is located there, which is one of the Big Ten schools. And I was really lucky that school in particular has a fantastic music school. My dad was a musicology professor there. He was hired in 1966, and was a faculty member there for about 30 years. He retired in 96. So I was around the music school a lot. Just kind of going to different concerts and events that he was part of or was wanting to attend. And it wasn't too long after I was born that I started taking music lessons. I mean, I've been surrounded by music since I can, for as long as I can remember. My mom was a pianist and an organist. And my dad, of course, in preparation for his classes, was always playing recordings and just doing research at home So I was always kind of surrounded by music. It was kind of like a soundtrack for my upbringing. So it made a lot of sense that my sister and I eventually would go into music, and it was very just like a natural progression for us. We loved it. It was basically our first language in a lot of ways. So I started taking violin lessons through the pre-college Suzuki program that was sponsored by the university. And it was interesting because my mom, she was actually the one who was kind of was really interested in both my sister and I getting some private instruction pretty early on. But violin was kind of the last instrument on her list. I think she wasn't necessarily drawn to the instrument necessarily. But one of her students who was teaching for the pre-college program was saying, "Oh no, we have a great program here, and I think Sarah would really thrive." And it's just it's a really beautiful instrument, and I think that it would be really fun for Sarah to have the opportunity to try it out. So my mom said, "Okay, why not? We'll give it a shot." And so I remember vividly going to the violin shop. I remember even the dress that I was wearing. It was kind of a funny thing. But I remember the car trip to the violin shop, picking out the instrument, coming home, taking the violin out of the case, and putting the violin. I had looked at pictures and things of how people held the instrument, so I kind of made a rough estimate of how I was supposed to hold it. Put it on my shoulder, and I kind of did a claw hold of the bow, and just played 4 notes. And I happened to play A, E, E. And I got really excited because I recognized that those were the first 4 notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And then I got immediately frustrated because I couldn't figure out how to make the F sharp happen. So I was basically hooked at that point. And I loved the instrument. I loved learning about it. I loved the sounds that were coming out of it. And I was a pretty shy kid, but music was this one opportunity where I really felt like I could 100% be myself. And I just loved practicing, loved making music, loved making music with my friends, and just, each lesson, like learning more and more and figuring out what was going on with the instrument and how to make more sounds and melodies and all that. So I was having a great time with that. My parents, as music historians, both of them were musicologists. My parents were firm believers in the idea that they wanted to make sure we had a really broad perspective on all the different music that was out in the world, and recognizing that the conservatory culture and the music school culture was kind of more centered around Western European classical music. And jazz was beginning to make its appearance in college settings, but it wasn't quite as well grounded as it is now. So they sought out different teachers and different recordings and things for me to check out. But what was really fortunate was that David Baker, who was a fantastic jazz musician, jazz teacher, was also on faculty at Indiana University. And he and my dad were really good friends. And my parents approached him about his interest in teaching both me and my sister about jazz music. And he was 100% on board, was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do this with your daughters. It'd be great." So yeah, when I was around 8 or 9, I started taking private jazz lessons from David Baker. And I had a similar reaction. I got hooked right away on the music. I think one of the first assignments that David gave me was to do a Charlie Parker transcription. I was kind of new to the jazz music. I've been introduced to it a little bit through my parents' recordings, but to really to be, just really exposed to it through David's eyes and through his experience and through his pedagogy was just a blast. So I got hooked on that, and I was doing some Baroque violin lessons as well, because they also had a really great early music department at Indiana University. Still do, obviously, same with the jazz. And I loved having the exposure to all these different forms of music and kind of seeing the similarities between all of them. I kept on doing classical and jazz for basically the bulk of my teenage and college years. Was a double major at Indiana University in classical violin and jazz studies. But I really, as I got older and just was kind of getting more and more into the music, I was really gravitating more towards the freedom of expression and the improvisation that was kind of all contained within the jazz realm. So that's kind of where I ended up going and where I am now. Very long-winded explanation, but that's kind of the backstory behind where I am now.
That's wonderful. So what was the first live jazz show you saw that made you think that's something you wanted to do?
Oh man, trying to think about the first concert. I think it might have been. This is going back. I don't remember how old I was, but Dizzy Gillespie came through Bloomington and did a concert at Indiana University's auditorium, which is a huge, like the primary performance space on campus. Like maybe 5,000 seats or something. It's a pretty big space. He did a concert here. Did a concert there in that hall, and I was young enough. I don't really remember a lot of what I heard because it was a little over my head. But I remember the energy and just the visual, just like being able to see him on stage, interacting with the musicians the way that he was, and just the energy that he was able to share with the audience in such an intimate way, in spite of it being such a huge concert hall. That power of both the artist and the ensemble and the music was something that really stuck with me. And that was a very memorable experience.
So what experiences with musicians or on the stage are you drawing from over your career that's giving you strength during this time? When
you're making music with like the musicians I'm lucky enough to be playing with, you're making music with your family, and they're people that you've experienced so much with over the course of your life and your career. And I think that's what I miss the most. We can make music with these sort of these multi-track, tiered recordings, that you do through a cappella and people editing together these videos through iMovie and all that. And it's cool, it works well, but it's you're missing that spontaneity, you're missing that moment of everyone being in the same room and feeding off the same energy, and just really feeling and breathing and just experiencing that music together in the moment. So when I'm practicing now, when I'm working on tunes, like composing them, I'm working on just preparing for shows that I'm hoping will be coming back up soon. I'm feeding off of that energy, feeding off of those memories that make this music so much a part of who I am. Just looking forward to those opportunities when we can all be in the same room and just be feeling the energy the music allows us to share with each other.
So what do you like best about being a musician?
Oh, that's going to be a long answer. There's so many different parts of it. I don't know. I love the fact that no day is the same as the one prior. Like every day is a unique experience. There's definitely not a predictability in the schedule. Like I guess I have a routine of sorts. Like I tend to be an early riser, and I have my eating routine, having my morning coffee and all that. But after that, you never know what's going to happen. Every day is different. Between the different rehearsals that you have, the different shows that you do. The touring that you might do, the recording sessions and all that. So, you take each day as it comes, and I love the fact that that every day is unique. It really kind of adds to the excitement of what it is that we do. And I love the fact too that one of the things I love, I kind of purposely sort of shape my career in this way. That yes, I do my own projects as a band leader, but I also reserve a large portion of my time to be a sideman and to be part of other people's ensembles that they lead. And I think that that variety in experience and situation really sort of feeds into that idea of like every day being different and sort of being in different roles and having different responsibilities that you carry based on whatever activity you're doing. So I love that. I love the idea that I'm collaborating with a lot of people through that kind of structure. Certainly I have the people that I work with in my groups, but I also love the people that I'm able to meet through other people's ensembles and recording sessions and all that. So yeah, I love the variety. I love the different voices in writing and personality that I'm getting to meet and collaborate with through all these different situations. So yeah, it's a really fun ride. Honestly, it's where I feel the most comfortable being me. As far as just where I'm able to really express who I am as a person and as a musician, and it just feels like home. It's what I feel like I was meant to do. Like, it's funny because somebody asked me recently, if kind of like it was sort of I don't know how you want to kind of case it, but they were saying, well, what would you do if you didn't do music? Like, and I think in a lot of ways it's been a very real question that a lot of us have had to face since COVID this whole situation has come down the road. We all have had to face the reality that we might not be making music with each other for a number of months. And I think, if anything, I never had any doubt that I wanted to be a musician, that this was the path that I wanted to follow and was meant to follow. But I think, if anything, it's just more firmly established the fact that I have to do this. Like, this is me. This is this is my community of family members. This is the lifestyle that I'm meant to be living. And if it takes patience and creativity in the way that we get our music out there, I'll pursue it, because this is just what I have to be doing.
Right on. My final question to you is this. We're all going to get back to the music. And when we do, as musician and audience, what revelations do you hope we have when we return, the silver linings?
I hope that we don't take for granted the idea of live performance. And not that we ever, I don't know if we ever took it for granted, but I think it's been, it's always kind of been easy for us to say, oh, that concert's too expensive, or, oh, I'll see this person next week. I've got too much on my plate. I'm just not going to go to that concert tonight. I'm not taking any show for granted anymore. When I see a friend giving a show, I'm going to go if I'm able to. And when I'm there, I'm going to appreciate the idea of being able to be in a room with other people and to feel the energy and the vibrations and the moment for what it is. It doesn't, the costs, the amount of time it would take to travel to get there, it doesn't matter so much anymore. It's all about supporting each other in live music ventures and making sure that we really appreciate those moments for what they are. Because I think this is a true situation where we've realized that that's not always going to, that moment, that opportunity for us to gather isn't something that's a given. It's something that we need to appreciate with a lot more, and value with a lot more heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, thank you for taking some time out during this extraordinary time in our history, a very surreal time, to talk about the music. I appreciate it.
Oh, it was really a pleasure to talk with you about it.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Indiana, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Sara for her time, music, and stories. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino in the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.